Hi there, welcome back to Not Without the Budget. I'm Nicole, and on this channel I'm attempting to cash budget my way out of debt and work through and fix several years of financial misbehaviour. And at the minute, this Q2 of the financial year and this April, deal with the fact that I feel things have reset. And I have talked about this before in previous videos, or I feel very much like I am back to where I was when I first started this channel, albeit not as a result of my own poor financial mismanagement. Just life has put me firmly back. And okay, let's go forward again. This is a bit of an intro to April's budget, and it is going to be the first of a daily video that I'm going to be producing. I did intend to release and film this yesterday, but we had a bit of a dramatic vet's appointment with my cat, and yeah, he's fine. He's always like he's as fine as he can be, but it was a bit dramatic and it was a bit upsetting. So the daily budget videos and daily videos coming from me throughout April start on the 2nd of April, not the 1st. First of all, I'm going to bring you to the calendar and show you what my April month layout looks like. Now, there's a few pinch points throughout April, and I'm going to talk about pinch points within a budgeting context, I should say, separately. Like I said, I have got to get some daily videos out. And talking of the little boy himself, I'm just going to kind of show you, because he's making his presence known. So for those of you who have been missing the boy, here is here is a Mr. Bowie. Come this way. Hello. So he's very, 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 very close today as a result of yesterday's antics. So we're going to try and get through this as best we can. There we go. Right, let's just reposition. Okay. Yes, there's quite a few pinch points throughout April, which are worth just discussing within themselves, because I think they're points where certainly I get tripped up within budgets, but often they catch people by surprise. We're sitting here Wednesday the 2nd. We had his vet's appointment. It was £60 more than I'd planned. Here we go. Month is starting off well, and it runs for me all the way through until the 30th. So it is a 4.5 week month. Now, I am not going to be returning to work on the 22nd like I'd initially thought. The earliest I could possibly return to work, and again, that depends on a variety of factors, is the 28th of April. And on that basis, I will also be bringing in a lesser income for May, which I'd done this budget and then found that out. So I have tweaked very much my plans whilst working through a significantly poor period of health, with lots of ongoing kind of diagnosis and tests and clinics and things, and all sorts of just wonderful things and medication, which is knocking me on my backside significantly. But all of that is stuff that we're just going to have to sort out and get through. Now, in terms of key dates, and despite all the aforementioned health conditions, I'm going to, even if it knocks me on my butt for the rest of the day, do a card boot on Sunday the 6th and potentially Sunday the 13th as well, and try and generate that extra income from that. And even if it's just an extra £50 is where we're at. I've got my rental inspection a week tomorrow, and then I will find out what the state of play is as regards my rental contract a week after that. Here we come to pinch point number 1. I'd scheduled in the half term. Or the Easter holidays makes no difference to me, because I'm now off for almost the entirety of the month, payday being the 30th as well. That is where the pinch point next comes in, is that potentially 2 weeks after finding out whether I get to stay in my house or not, I will have a lesser income, down by about £554. And I will potentially need to, within that period as well, maybe fund moving house. So all the plans that I was talking through has changed. Like I said, I found out that I was signed off here for the month, and I had done my budget by then. So within this first week, I'm going to talk you through what I've originally planned out. I will then verbally explain to you where things might be changing. Now, In terms of my goals themselves, car boot I will absolutely be doing, and I'm going hardcore in that car boot. Daily listings 35 per day. Now at the minute I'm building up a draft bank or across Vinted, and then I will also be cross listing across eBay as well, and I am going to be going hard on selling so much. The cat thinks he's next. I will not be selling the cat, because with the announcement that I will be also be taking home in May, £1,446.50, the £950 1 month ahead rent payment might need to be used for May if I am staying in the same house, because it makes things a bit tight. However, if I am not staying in the same house, that money will need to go into my April rent payment, which I won't know that that's what I'm doing that with until near enough the day. So let me just you're there going, hang on a minute, Nicole, and I'm aware that I'm a bit stop-starting, a bit disjointed. Medication and fatigue and brain fog right now is a real issue, so just try and roll with it. I know that I'm not coming across the most smoothly. So rental inspection here. I don't expect to hear a response as to whether it's successful and I get to stay in the house or not until around about here, the Monday or the Tuesday. The landlord's going to take the information back to, or the letting agent's going to take the information back to the landlord. The landlord may then want the weekend and potentially the Monday to think about things. And then 2 or 3 days later on, I will find out, and have to be finding out by then, whether I am paying my rent as normal, if my rent is going up, is that an increased payment I need to pay, or am I moving, and what that looks like. Now, if I am moving, I will have 2 months to move out, but I will still need to pay my rent in that time, which is what I would use that £950 1 month rent ahead payment for, just to give me some breathing space, given that my income for May is going, from a work perspective, is going to be the 1,446. So that takes that away from that. And then hopefully I'll be back at work in May as normal, as earning as normal, and then that last payment in June can be paid out of my wages. That is if I have to move, because there is a financial pressure on May's wages that comes with having to look. It's looking for deposits and trying to pull money together and save very, very quickly. And while I do have that £950 buffer there, I'm trying to be quite strategic with how and when I use it. I could have jumped in and used it in March. I could have jumped in and used it in February. I'm trying to kind of hold off, because that in itself is a bit of a muscle, holding off trying to use something until the most strategic point possible. So what I have decided to do is assume that I need to bring in and source all of the £950 rent payment for April, alongside anything that I can put aside out of my wages. Therefore, I can potentially roll some money over. I'm working at it on the basis that I have 6 weeks notice that on the 17th of May, I will need to pay, at the minute, a £950 rent payment. I'm working with the information that I know. And in 2 weeks' time, I also have to pay a £950 rent payment. Now, the £950 for May is potentially sitting there, but again, it would be ideal to not use it, because great big unknown here. I don't know if I'm going to need to have to use it for other things. I'm going to need the £950 from somewhere to cover moving, to cover a deposit for somewhere else. All of that is a massive unknown. And at the same time, I've also got my rent payment due, and I won't find out whether I get to use the money that I've set aside and rolled it over, or whether I need to, or whether there's a potential that I'm going to be short. So I'm working on the assumption that over the next 2.5 weeks, all the way up until the day, I have that time to accrue an extra £950 in total. I've bookmarked here. Now, the previous plan was I was going to be back at work straight after Easter. I was trying to potentially see if I could go back around about here. It wasn't happening. And I was a bit foolish for thinking it was. And that although I would have a slightly lesser wage in May, it wouldn't be as bad as the one that I currently have. And therefore, I didn't need to try and source and bring in the full 950. I could do half. That's not going to be the case. So my rent that was in, £1,446.50, with a rollover of £108.93. I'm setting myself, the original target I had set myself for this week was an additional £300 on top of the rollover. The target for this week is, from all sources, including the car boot, the £475 that I need. And the same for next week as well. So £475 for next week. The rent, which I'd initially thought that I would set aside from my income, including the rollover, I'd budgeted £600. I'm going to act as though this isn't here. So it's here. I'm going to act and pretend like it's not, because that's going to be the bit of a fire up the backside that I need, despite my current health condition, to push me towards a £475 target, possibly more. I'm trying to give myself a bit of flexibility and movement because, like I said, Bowie's vet appointment was £60 more than I'd already anticipated, which was not ideal. And then the standard bills to come out are YouTube Premium, Spotify, my Google storage, my car tax, and a water payment. So I'm playing around with cash flow a bit this month as well. The bills which can go to later in the month, I'm going to put towards later on in the month. Things like Wi-Fi, mobile phone, gas and electric, etc. I'm all going to shift to later on in the month, and then that will give me a bit of cash flow, like a bit of room for cash flow. I'm keeping at the minute the £12.99 and the £11.99 in because I'm going to be at home. So controversial take is that I do think that if you're not spending on going out, and if you're not spending on takeaways, and you're not from a budgeting perspective, cutting down on those areas, and you are spending time at home, I do feel that there is necessarily not an issue, which for me, this is 23, 20, let's say 24. I don't feel like spending £24 a month on entertainment activities for the entire 31 days is an issue. Given that I will be spending a lot of time listing, I live alone, the cat doesn't speak to me, I'm not going out engaging in social activities, I don't do takeaways or eating out as a rule. So for now, I am keeping that £24 in my budget, and have in fact paid that because that went out yesterday, going forward for there. So my income in planned was £1,555.43. That's because I knew what the rollover would be, and I knew what my wages would be. At the end of this week, once I've done the car boot and reconciled all of that, I will tot up the total and fill this in as well. So at the minute, I'm not going to say that I think the total I'm going to spend is this. I'm going to tactically ignore that this is there, and I'm going to act like there's not £600 to put aside. Fuel, I've budgeted 50. This is for me to completely fill my tank up and for most of the month. I might top it up when we get to half. Maybe that's it. Food is not £200 for the week. This is an estimated £200 for the month. And what I tend to do is I tend to do quite a large bulk shop in the first week or so, and then top up with fresh shops throughout the week. So I always allocate the weight of my food shop at the very start. Household, again, 30. I've put that down because I feel like there's things I need, but at the minute offhand, I couldn't tell you what that is. And again, focus has been a bit of an issue. The vet's appointment was budgeted for £100. It was £166 and some small change, courtesy of a little bit of a hiccup and some extra treatment that was needed during the appointment yesterday. And then again, what I've requested, and hopefully I will get, is his medication in the form of a written prescription, which will then allow me to go and purchase his medication from an online supplier, which hopefully will bring the cost down on his meds. I don't know how much by. So there is that. So at the minute, the total estimated flexible expenses, including the vet appointment, the meds, and the food, is £630. We're already up 60 on that. We're not looking good. I'm aware that this is not my most vibrant and exciting video, guys. There's a lot that's kind of happened, and there's a lot that I'm also trying to get my head around, which is I accept doesn't make for the most legible video to try and understand. So what I might do is grab a little bit of paper just to do like a summary at the end and do a bit of scribbling. And you can see there is a debt payment here. When I was going through and getting my updated debt totals and updated debt information, there was one account which I was a little bit concerned about from a communication perspective, and it was about to go into a default. I'm a bit keen to avoid any more of those on my credit report, having pulled my said credit report, and can see obviously the state of that over the past few years. Separate video. But there was a settlement offer for the whole amount, which was £75.86. I have scheduled that in and had scheduled that in to pay prior to me finding out that my wage for May would be less, and prior to the actual fact that Bowie's vet appointment was significantly more than I budgeted. So I've budgeted this in. I may have to get in touch with them and see if that offer can be deferred, and if not, then it may not be paid. Let me try and break down, because I'm aware that like I've not brain. Right. Okay. Let's do a bit of show and tell. You are not an acceptable pen. Because I also know that if you've tried to wrap your head around what I've just said, well done for trying. I know that at the minute I'm not okay, health-wise. Which is why me being a teacher at the minute is a pretty bad thing, because this is how I'd be trying to teach. So, I have a £950 1 month ahead. Literally paid 1 month ahead in rent. At the minute, that's what I pay in rent. That means that I could, in theory, not pay £950 this month, and I would be completely clear up until May. However, in 2.5 weeks' time, my rent is due, my contract is up. I could potentially have a rent increase. Not even crossed that bridge yet. I could get given a 2 months notice. So I could stay the same. That would be lovely. I could have a rent increase. Don't ask me how much I think that could be. I've got no clue. I'm not looking. I'm being an ostrich and I'm sticking my head in the sand over that one. Or I could get given 2 months notice. And 2 months notice is 2 months notice to leave. But I would still have to pay £1,900 total in rent in those 2 months, April and May. Plus a deposit, plus first month up front. So all I have at the minute to fall back on is the £950, which is still 1 month rent ahead. So what I'm going to do in the meantime is just making sure I've got this all in case. I'm going to act like the worst is going to happen. I'm going to be given a 2 months notice or a rent increase. Realistically, a 2 months notice. And I'm going to hope that things stay the same. But based on my current track record, that's not been the best thing that's happened. So we're going to go with the healthy dose of pessimism and realism here. And I'm going to assume I'm going to get given a 2 months notice. I won't find that out until here, I think. Because my rental inspection is happening on the Thursday. And it is only fair for me to assume that the landlord is going to take the weekend to make a decision, discuss things through from a business perspective. And then me find out, Tuesday and Wednesday. Well, if I do nothing and don't get any extra money in to set aside and go, I'll just use the rollover and take it from the 1 month ahead that's already in place. And then I find out here on the day that I've got given 2 months' notice. I've still got to find the £950, plus I've still got to find the deposit, plus I've still got the first month's rent up front to deal with. And I'm also going to be dealing with the fact that my income for May is going to be down. It's going to be £1,446.50 without anything that I roll over or generate in extra. So what I'm going to do over the next 2.5 weeks is act as though I don't have any money set aside. I have no extra money coming in, and I need to solve that problem, because that, despite my current state of health, is going to light the fire that I need to get me turning out for the boot sales on both weekends and not necessarily sleeping in, and going through and being really aggressive and listing. And if it means I find the odd thing here or there which I do purchase to sell on, then I'm going to take that opportunity and do that, and do what our frenemy, should we say frenemy in the budgeting community says, Dave Ramsey, do what Dave Ramsey says and sell so much that my very sick cat thinks he's next. He's not next. So I've given myself 2 weeks. Now, I drafted this budget last week, and that's just a sign of how quickly things change, is that this basic first week of my month and my overall plan for the month is now almost utterly irrelevant. So I'm bracketing out the £600 as though it doesn't exist. I've bracketed out the 950 because to me it doesn't exist anyway, because it's never been in my account, because I've always just paid my rent from January normally, and yeah, I have been 1 month ahead. If I don't pay the rent in April, it's not going to be a problem, but I won't be able to make that decision or not until D-Day anyway, and D-Day for me is there's 2 months notice. Oh, sugar, I've still got to find tons of extra money, and I may or may not be in a good state to do that, or it's fine, I can just breathe, and in which case I'll have sorted out the May problem if everything is fine, which is I still need to plug my rent shortfall for May, because I will still have a rent shortfall in May. So either way, I need to find an extra £950, whether it was £475 this month and then £475 next month or not, is a by the by. I'm acting like I've got this 2.5 weeks to do it. So despite how I'm feeling, and I am feeling awful, health-wise, mentally, bit pants financially as well, that's what we're going to do. This hopefully is a bit of a clearer way than my rather botched attempt at explaining it, because sometimes there is nothing like a breakdown of this. And I'm going to be at home. I've done quite a big food shop to get most of it in and here, and taken advantage of as many offers and things that I could find yesterday in terms of like food deliveries and stuff like that. I am going absolutely hardcore on the car boot and on selling, because ultimately my mentality is that I can always buy it back when I do have money. And that's something that I'm having to kind of mentally reconcile, that there are things which I do have an emotional and sentimental attachment to, where I'm kind of going, I know that was the coat that I was going to slim into, for example, but you're still new with tags and in a bag, and I've not worn you for 6 years, so you're going to go. And I know that this is like junk costume jewelry that I've not worn for ages, but it was something I was trying to like build in a collection. It's the Harry Potter charm bracelet with the cheapy crappy charms. I've still got the charms new and bagged, and I've still got the charm bracelet, for example. So all of those things I'm going through, and I am gutting, and stuff is going. Filling up my car. My brother is coming along, so he's going to help me in case I have a floppy wobbly moment on the Sunday, and then I've got a friend coming with me on the 13th, so I won't be flying solo. So from a health perspective, I've got someone there keeping an eye on me, but from a financial perspective, it needs to happen. I need, and I'm aiming for a £300 to £400 day at the car boot. What I will do from tomorrow is I will update with the day with any Vinted sales that I have from the first. I know that I have received some donations and things from coffee. Those have paid in. What those have done is those have covered the extra that I had to pay for Bowie. And in the entire time in the background, we're going to tactically ignore the fact that there is potentially, it's like £580 now. There is £580 to £600 sitting there, which I could draw on if I need it. But realistically, I might need to roll that forward for May anyway. So I'm in a bit of a financial pickle at the worst possible time because I'm at my most unfit to deal with it. But there we go. I will be joining you for a video tomorrow and I will give you an update as to how things are going. I am going to be activating I've got a good bank of drafts. I'm up to 85 draft listings and I've got some more ones that I need to activate as well on Vinted to try and keep that kind of going. I will leave my link down in my Vinted link down below for anyone who's kind of in the UK and curious about what I have in my shop. And also down there is my Not Another Budget website where you can get savings trackers and digital and physical items. And then for those of you who keep asking and make me feel like really weird about it, but okay, my coffee link is down in the description box below where you can also get digital I think I've still got some digital products on there as well. So if you don't want to use my Shopify, then the coffee website is down there for those that want to do it. That's it. That's where I need to leave you because I can literally feel my brain cells leaving and the heavy weighted blanket of fatigue coming over me. I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you for sitting through what I know has been a really difficult video to try and keep up with. Thank you. I'm going to love you and leave you and have a fantastic budgeting week wherever you are in the world. Bye-bye for now.